Hi folks, and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be the last video from dubious positions and how to attack them. This will be chapter 1, and for the next week's video we'll be starting on the central cannon versus greenhouse defense formation. Again, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Master Xiangqi and Webmaster Xiangqi for allowing me to do this series of videos. I hope you've enjoyed them as much as I have done. So without further ado, let us begin this week's tutorial. C2 equals to 5, same direction cannons, file chariot versus deferred chariot. Red goes for the left proper horse, so that's black. P7 plus 1, so far so good, and black would play R1 plus 1 in this situation. Now in this board, this would be the move that would result in a dubious position. Now red would charge his horse to the riverbank, preventing black from doing so. This would be one of the main reasons for making this move. However, this move would be considered to be impetuous. Now usually, instead of this move, red will usually play c8 equals to 9 to develop this chariot. Another option would be to play c8 plus 2 for the riverbank cannon variation, so that he could trade pawns, sorry. And also there's also a less commonly seen variation, but still nevertheless quite considered to be orthodox, would be c8 plus 1, whereby red would play c8 equals to 7, etc. later on to attack this file. Now these three variations would be considered to be the tabia for this opening system. However, the position of discussion this week would be h7 plus 6 as red tries to attack very early on. Now black would usually counter with r1 equals to 4, and this would be r1 equals to 4 to attack the horse, and red would immediately play c8 plus 2 to protect the horse. This would be the position of discussion for this week, and at this point in time there are three main variations that were discussed in the book. They are very short variations, but I think they are very good in exemplifying or explaining the concept of a decent or an ideal formation as the title goes. The first variation will be r4 plus 3, the second will be c2 plus 2, and the third will be simply p3 plus 1. Now, in variation A, r4 plus 3 is played, whereby black would try to seize control of the riverbank in this manner. One of the main ideas behind playing the horse and the cannon in this manner was that red was prepared to switch formations to dislodge the black chariot and then play the elephant, etc. for defense. Black would play r4 equals to 2, c8 plus 3, and at this point in time the situation would be rather calm. It's rather steadfast, but red will be considered to have the better formation because the chariot can be developed in this manner, and there were not many weaknesses for black to exploit in this situation. So red will usually take his time to slowly increase his initiative in this position. So that is why r4 plus 3 variation, the first variation A, is not considered to be a good option for black. In variation B, instead of pushing the chariot to the riverbank, black would use the cannon. Now this would directly resolve the threat of let's say c5 equals to 6, because if c5 equals to 6 were played, black could play c2 equals to 4. However, the problem now would be that black's entire reasoning behind making this move was that he had anticipated that red would definitely play c5 equals to 6. But if red did not make this move, the cannon would not be much of a factor in this situation. It cannot play c2 equals to 3 because the pawn would have guarded it, and when the cannon was at this position, it would be very vulnerable to attacks by red when he pushed the pawn, etc. So instead of attacking with c5 equals to 6, red would usually play a6 plus 5 to consolidate his defense, as he countered black's aggressive counter with a slow but very targeted approach. Now, it would be inappropriate to play c5 equals to 6 at this point. For example, if c5 equals 6 were played, as black would counter c2 equals to 2, and red's attack or his tactical combinations would fall apart. Therefore, a6 plus 5 was played, whereby red first consolidate his defense, and if black played c2 equals to 4 in anticipation of c5 equals to 6, red would simply refuse to make their move and play c5 equals to 7 instead. Now with this move, red would be prepared to charge the pawn across the river. Since the cannon had blocked the black chariot from attacking the horse, red would not have to bother about this horse at this point in time. Instead, he could focus his attack on this file. So at this point in time, black's third file, or red's seventh file, would now be under attack, and red would have an advantage in this situation. Now this is why variation B, by c2 plus 2, is not a good idea, because as I mentioned earlier, or was mentioned in the book, black's entire position depended on the fact that red would play c5 equals to 6. And that is why red refused to do so and play c5 equals to 7 to attack instead. Now the best counter for black would be to play p3 plus 1 to initiate or to sacrifice the pawn. If red captured the black pawn, he will lose the horse. Now this is a very proactive and targeted counter approach to this position. Now, as can be seen, there were two sub-variations that were discussed. The first would be c5 equals to 6, whereby red would go ahead with his original plans to try to dislodge the black chariot. The second would be e7 plus 9 to deal with the issue of black charging the pawn across the river. So in the first sub-variation, c5 equals 6 was played. Now instead of using this cannon, red will use his central cannon to block and still fight for control of this very important red file. Now, it would not be a good idea to play h3 plus 4 to block, because the pawn would now cross the river. And let's say black attempted a pseudo sacrifice after capturing. This cannon will now continue to make mischief, and black would now face the predicament of losing material, because he had already lost a horse at this point in time. So if say h3, r3 equals to 4 played, red would simply trade material and then move his chariot, etc. to protect the horse. So black will lose material. Now c5 equals to 4 would be a much better move. So let's say black played it would be best for red to accept. It would not be a good idea to play h6 plus 5, thinking that now both the cannon and the horse were attacking the black chariot, because black would simply play c4 equals to 5, block the horse, and now attack the cannon. Now in this situation, red had not moved the advisor to protect the cannon, so it would be red that would now face the predicament of losing material, because now both horses will be attacking the red horse. If red captured either one of the horse, black will capture the cannon and target the other horse again. And this horse cannot move, because if it did, it would be a check. So that is why red would be in a predicament of losing material. Now r6 plus 4 would not be a good idea also, because black would now have a very powerful counter with c4 plus 7. If by capturing the advisor, if the king played k5 equals to 6, for example, red would deliver a check and then capture the other horse. If black Red did not bother by cannon, the cannon will not be attacking the chariot. So Red would be in all sorts of trouble. So that is why h6 plus 4 would be an even worse counter, because after c4 equals to 7, the cannon will also protect the horse in this manner. And the horse will not be able to go anywhere, the chariot was under attack, and the pawn was prepared to cross the river. So it would be best for Red to trade cannons, but in doing so, his own formation will now be very feeble and problematic. So Black would usually play r4 plus 1. And again, if p3 plus 1, Red would lose the horse. So usually Red would try to protect the pawn from doing so. But after moving the elephant here, Red's entire formation was in shambles, and this could be very easily exploited by Black. And with h3 plus 4, the cannon will now be under attack, and Red would have to move the cannon away, but in doing so, Black, let's say for example, Black make this move, Red made this move, Black would have the option. One possibility would be to play h4 plus 6, whereby this would be a fork to gain material. The chariot would be threatening the horse, and this horse would be threatening the other horse. So Red will be placed in all sorts of in a predicament. So now Black would claim a huge initiative. Now in variation, the second variation, e7 plus 9, Black would advance the pawn, forcing the elephant to the rather awkward position, and then continue to attack as planned earlier. c5 goes to 6 to attempt a pin, but Black would offer the horse as a pseudo sacrifice, because after capturing the elephant, Black can be sure to gain back lost material. The chariot will be out of harm's way and will be attacking very powerfully. So let's say Red accepted. Now Black will be threatening to gain back lost material, and Red's cannon rank was now very feeble. This horse would be in trouble, and Red will have a huge headache trying to deal with the issue of the Black chariot over here. So Black gains back lost material and claims the advantage of having an extra elephant and material in the process. So let us review the entire game again from the eyes of Black. Same direction cannons, foul versus deferred chariot, proper horses, p7 plus 1, so far so good. Black plays r1, plus 1, and this would be the dubious move that resulted in this very dubious formation. Okay, this would be the position of discussion, whereby Red tries to play c5 equals to 6, which should be the main attack in this situation. So, three variations were discussed. First would be r4 plus 3, and Red would actually be better after dislodging the chariot, which has made 1, 2, 3, 4 moves in the span of 10 moves, and also at the expense of underdevelopment of the left flank. c2 plus 2 is not a good idea, because Black's entire line of thinking was that Red was sure to play c5 equals to 6, which Red refused to do so and played c5 equals to 7 instead, applying much pressure on this file. The suggested or recommended variation would be to play p3 plus 1 after c5 equals to 6, which is the first subvariation. Black would, the threat of Red central cannon would be no more, and Black would now attack in variation. In the second subvariation, e7 plus 9 was played, but again this would result in a very awkward position. Black would use the tactic of a pseudo sacrifice to gain an elephant and claim back lost material later on. So the concept of having a firm formation can be exemplified in this example, and I hope this is one of the basic concepts that must be learned in Xiangqi for beginners. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.